Hello, everybody. Welcome to the U.S. History Talk Show. Today we have an amazing guest, Joseph Smith Jr., the founder of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, who is often seen as a prophet himself. Welcome.
Thanks, it's great to be here.
Well, for the folks out there who may not know much of your backstory, let's start with that. How did you initially become involved with the religious world?
Well, I was born on December 23rd, 1805, in Sharon, Vermont. My family was a relatively poor farming and shopkeeping family, and we moved to New York in 1816.
And this was all during the pressures of the Second Great Awakening, correct?
Yes, this was the so-called burned-over district of New York, where religious feelings were high. As a 14-year-old at the time, I was unsure of which religion to join.
Did your parents have any say on the matter?
Both my parents disagreed on religion. They had received communication from God in visions. As I searched for answers, I came across a passage in the Bible saying that those who needed wisdom should ask of God.
And this is when you had your vision?
Well, that was a few years later in 1820 when I was praying in the woods by my home.
Correct me if I'm wrong, but in your vision you saw God and Jesus, and they told you not to join any of the churches?
Yes, I was told that my sins were forgiven and that the other contemporary churches had moved away from the gospel.
But this was not the vision in which you were told about the book made of gold plates?
No, that was a few years later in 1823 when I was visited by the angel Moroni, who told me where the book was buried.
And that was the book that would become the Book of Mormon?
In a way. The book made of gold plates that Moroni led me to was ancient, and it described the connection between the Native Americans and the lost tribes of Israel. I translated it and then published the Book of Mormon in 1830.
This is when you said, "By the power of God, I translated the Book of Mormon from hieroglyphics, the knowledge of which was lost to the world, in which wonderful event I stood alone, an unlearned youth, to combat the worldly wisdom and multiplied ignorance of 18 centuries, with a new revelation."
Yes, and with this new revelation I created the Church of Christ, what would become the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints.
Amazing. And you then began your journey westward. You moved to Kirtland, Ohio in 1831, correct?
There was opposition to my faith in New York, and I sought to create a community of Mormons in what would be the New Jerusalem.
And this Kirtland community did grow, but would eventually fall apart. Is that correct?
There were around 2,000 in my followers in Kirtland by 1837, when internal disputes brought it down. There were also mobs that disliked my political power in the area and attacked me and another Mormon leader, Sidney Rigdon.
Right. And from there you hope to create a new community in Missouri?
Yes, we were hoping to create a better community in Missouri, but faced hard opposition from those already living there. From my experience with mob violence in Ohio, I decided we needed to have a more militaristic approach to our search.
And these tensions between Mormons and non-Mormons would lead to the Mormon War of 1838?
Correct. The tensions in Missouri were high, and we eventually moved again after the state militia organized to force us out.
So after all this, you found safety in Illinois, where you received refuge and were permitted to buy land and build your city?
Right. We built the city of Nauvoo, which had its own militia, the Nauvoo Legion, and were able to build our Mormon community.
Wow, what a story. Thanks for your time today, Mr. Smith.
My pleasure. Thanks for having me on the show.
Well, unfortunately for our guest, Joseph Smith Jr. was killed by a mob in 1844 and is buried in Nauvoo. Thank you for joining us for our interview with Joseph Smith Jr. Be sure to tune in next week.